Kevin's coming in to host the meeting. I'm just helping getting it started.
Awesome. I was gonna say, we got that message and a very special guest host.
Oh. Kevin,
Yeah.
so some more bucket fills? Anybody got some bucket fills?
My neighbor who already has a realtor referred me to her sister who moved down here. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm like,
Yeah.
thinking of me.
That's very nice. Nice job. Congratulations. Super cool.
I have one for Maddie.
Ooh.
Why? She's just
Hi.
been like such a leader and just, taking, us and giving us some direction and, really like putting things together for us and, that's helpful and so. Yeah. So like.
Yes. Nice job.
There was a scripting call with Dana
Oh,
yesterday morning.
It
That was really good.
so
So,
got started yet.
Oh, was that really good?
It did.
so I want to bucket fill Dana and I would like to bucket fill whoever got that going.
And that's Tuesdays at 8:30, correct?
Is there a Zoom?
It is, it's a Zoom. Jeff has the link that I can email you.
Send the link
Well,
out,
you
or
know
is
what,
that not
can we
for-
send it out to the office?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think we've sent anything out. I honestly, I didn't know it started. I didn't know it totally started either. So we will get a hold of that link
Yeah.
and make sure we get it out to everyone. Because you're right, Dana is awesome. She's been in the business for a long time and she's awesome.
She is awesome.
Mhm.
I want to bucket fill Christy Kimbrell.
Oh, yeah.
I did a deal with her that closed yesterday and it was off market and I give her a lot of credit for like just doing the right thing for my client, not for herself. It was her own property, but doing the right thing for my client by like making sure things were happening. And I was grateful for that. And like, sure enough, we just sat down at the table at closing and hammered out what needed to take place. And she did a great job with my clients. So.
Yeah, another awesome one. Great other scripts too. Well, any more? You look like you're getting around a little better.
Better.
Yay.
Bucket fill whoever's hosting the barbecue after this.
That is being hosted by the leadership team. We're doing the first one.
Yep.
So it'll be in the back parking lot over by the picnic tables. And starting immediately after the team meeting, and we are super excited. I hope everyone brought their own chair. So
I did.
you did,
We can take turns sitting.
and I brought one extra.
I have an extra chair too.
So I'm sure we'll have some
What
extra.
do you need a chair for?
We have the picnic tables, but they're just not mowed around the picnic tables, I learned this morning. I'll send in a request to the building and ask them to start mowing around the picnic tables since they offer that nice
There's
outside
something-
picnic area.
Something called No Mow May going on.
Well,
It's June, it's June now.
That eats, all right?
We are a whole 12 hours into June.
All right.
I don't know why he's sitting so far away.
I know, right?
Like, I like
Circle of trust over there.
How many letters from the city did you get for not mowing your lawn?
Yeah, right.
My neighbor kept saying it and I gave so much crap yesterday because I came back from Memorial Weekend, it was mowed. I'm like, kept telling me, don't mow.
All right, well, Kevin is coming and he'll be doing it on the shifting. I think we're doing a mastermind on the shifting market. But if we want, we can quick go through the training. We just did bucket fill. I'll bucket fill you for leading the team meeting. Thank you. So, perspectives here tomorrow, in person only. Our office from, I think it's like 11 to Yep, so it's a longer class, especially because if you've never done it, come, it's a great class to take. Build Habits, Change Your Life, Thursday, June 9th, that'll be, are those starting now at 11?
Yes.
Yep, so now our trainings have been moved to Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 12. Same link, same everything, just changed them to 11 to 12. So now it's Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, 11 to 12.
Who's
Tuesdays
teaching
more.
Bill?
Jen Briggs.
Jen Briggs. Yep, so, and then Mindset with Charlie Stolé. I'm not too sure if you all, yeah, Charlie Stolé. We'll give a little bit more details on that, but that's coming up on June 23rd in Stand Out with Command Designs. If you guys aren't in Command and knowing a ton about Command and Designs, you can do a lot of stuff in there. So feel free to come to that one. That will be Tuesday the 28th from 11 to 12. Oh, and next Wednesday, Lunch and Learn, Tanya, right after the team meeting, buyer accepted program. So I think that's kind of like a cash offer type program. So that would be a really good one to come to. She'll be providing lunch, so that's wonderful. And now we've got Kevin, and don't forget the barbecue immediately following the team meeting. So I'm gonna kind of be taking off here and go down there and get set up, but yeah. Kevin, you're up.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing it, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
All right, who has a shift book? Who has it like within 20 feet? Or not 20 feet, like 200 feet? You wanna go grab your shift book? Everyone else? Today's your lucky day. You get a shift book.
Oh,
Hey.
Kevin, how nice. You want me to help you hand them out? Oh, Kevin, that was really nice.
I was gonna help them. I know I hate it. Yeah. I have one over the 5 miles.
One too.
Leave one for Maddie, would you?
Yeah. Oh, you have one at home?
I have one at home.
I have a very
That
marked.
doesn't do you any good at home.
Oh, yes, it does. I'm in it
I
every.
know. That I didn't know I was gonna lead this team meeting right away, but I had these sitting at home for a moment that was to come. And the moment's coming. So my original goal was to do what you just said, is have them all spiral bound and hand them out that way. We're just not there.
Thank you.
I wasn't prepared for that today. But
Yes.
I do think, one of the things that is cool about being a team leader, former team leader, Jim as well, it can experience is, like I am desiring for all of us, and I think this is a common color culture, is I desire for each one of us. Bethany, we're going through the shift book. You have yours with you? You want one? Is for all of us to, oh, you have them right there. Not only survive what is next, but to really thrive in what is next. As I look at Keller Williams and I go, what are some of the most successful programs that it had? What's the purple one, right? Bold, right? And bold came out of the shift and the idea that, hey, we got to get right and we got to get real, which is actually the first tactic in the shift. And so how many of you feel like we're in a shifting world? Why do you feel that way? Things are changing. Like what? Like what are the things that you're seeing that are changing?
Gas prices.
Gas prices.
The price of everything else.
What's that?
Interest rates, the price of everything else.
That's right. We're seeing lots of things. Things getting more expensive or less expensive? More expensive. So right now we're in an inflationary time, right? Things are inflated, things are getting more and more expensive. And how is that impacting you?
Buy less.
So what are you buying less of?
Less home improvement stuff for me.
Okay. So that's impacted you in that you're able to do less home improvement stuff. How about us? Anyone else? Impacted anyone else?
Our buyers can buy less.
We'll get to buyers, but how's it impacting people in this room? Go ahead, Nina.
I think it should be impacting us more than it is. It should be impacting me, but I need to change my mindset about how I'm spending my money.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So it's impacting you in the sense that maybe not, your actions haven't changed yet, but your mindset is starting to change around where you're recognizing
Yeah.
something's different.
One of my favorite hobbies has become very expensive.
What's that?
Drop shooting.
Why? Is it ammo?
Yes.
Interesting.
Zoom, anything out there on Zoom? That's kind of cool screen to be able to see. Go ahead, Jared.
So last night, when we were taking our dog for a walk, we ran into this guy who Tara knew from a previous job. And this guy happened to be the person that told her right as the pandemic was starting that he thought that this was going to be a really big deal and that it was going to be a significant change for everything. And he told her that. She digested that message at that time, and we decided not to purchase a home that we were under contract on in Deep Haven. There was a big project and whatever. And as we were talking to him, I could tell this guy's real smart and he works for some startup, and like, I don't know, you could tell he at least knew whatever he was talking about, whether it's right or wrong. He knew a lot about it. And I laughed and I'm like, well, you know, as it turns out, we probably would have made a lot of money on that house. And yet I still think it was the right decision for us at that time not to buy it. So I appreciate, you know, you sharing that with Tara at that time. And he laughed and he you know, we talked about that, but then he said, what we're up against right now is a big deal as well. And he said, you and everybody else would be smart to be cleaning up your books right now. And I just thought that was,
What does that mean?
right?
Cleaning up your books.
Get rid of debt, like get rid of bad debt, not buy things that you don't need to. You know, I guess maybe that type of thing.
Yeah. Money you think that's coming in probably isn't.
Right, right. Maybe that means collect receivables or, you know, like that
Write
type
them
of,
off.
yeah. Sure.
So we know what's doing to our buyers and our businesses as well. But one of the things I want to look at today, and the whole reason is getting the shift back in the hands of people, is because there's some strategies and some tactics that are looking at just that, right? So tactic number 2 around a shift is getting your budgets right, getting your expenses right, getting all those things. And I want to, in this time, what I'd like to do is open the book up and get through a few tactics as we can, all right? So they're pretty easy to follow along. But the first tactic is about getting right and getting real and having the right mindset to go in. And the piece that I want to get out of the chapter, and then we can go on to the next, is the author writes, Gary writes, I believe that your life will be either about your problems or the opportunities. You'll either be running away from something or running towards something. It's your call. To survive a shift, you must make the mental shift to run towards what you want and avoid the temptation of running away from what you fear most. By the way, that's page 24. Page 24 in the book there too. What do you guys think about that?
It's fight or flight.
Warren Buffett says the greatest distributions of wealth are down markets, not up markets. So I think looking at a recession or whatever's coming as an opportunity to run towards versus running away. I think more and more agents will be getting out of business.
Why do you think that?
Why agents will get out of business? Well, I mean, a lot of reasons, but number one, the average age of a realtor is how old?
What is it?
Last I knew was 59. The average agent is a 59-year-old divorced female. And so as, I mean, a lot of people don't want to go through another shift. Like, you know, if they survive the last one and they're 59, 60, whatever years old, they might not want to weather through the next shift and look at retirement, look at something else. NAR had the first, this year they went backwards in membership. That was the first time in a very long time they've gone backwards. So I think it's gonna squeeze people out personally.
I also think that most people start with buyers, and this is a very hard time to start with buyers because it's hard to float that income.
One of the things I heard, and another reason I think lots of people will be getting out, and I'm even concerned about our market center a little bit, is because as we looked at numbers last time with Kami, she said 20% of us are doing business, 80% of us are not. And when you are in an economy where you already set a budget, you already kind of have things to go, you're making it work now, things are kind of tight, but all of a sudden that economy changes and staying in business is now costing you more money and you're not making it. My question for us, a healthy question, I think I would want to say to my kid is, what are you doing? You know, are you making investments in your business, or are you wasting money having fun? Right. And I think one of the challenges that happens is that real estate can be easy to play. And one of the things that I looked at as I was reading the book again is how much he writes, don't guess, don't assume, don't pretend, but actually look at the things. And some of us have, I remember for myself, I remember when I got into real estate in 2016, I was on Dana's team. And I'm really excited because I hear Dana's going to come back and do a scripting sessions with people. This for yesterday? All right, let's give Dana a hand. Will PC win? Okay, what was it like?
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, she like went over different scripts to use, whether you're door knocking or you're on a phone call, and some great questions on how you can lead that conversation. And good open-ended questions, because I think a lot of, and Chris said this too, I think a lot of our natural tendencies to ask yes/no questions. So starting to think to ask open-ended and get them to think that helps both of you. That's really helpful.
Okay, people have been in real estate for a little while. How has your lead generation changed as the market got better and better and better? You're gonna tell me. That's the real question.
Is that calling the people who've called you?
Yeah, if my phone rings, I answer. Like that's, if we're being really honest, right? Like if we're gonna be real honest, I can't tell you the last time I lead generated. And I mean, it's a problem. And that's, I mean, just calling myself out because it's something our entire team needs to do more of.
I felt the need to region, so I put it out to the PC group if we could do like a Zoom hour. And it didn't work out for some of the time, but Chris and I were able to do it at least for like 45-ish.
Yeah, the free Zoom meetings only last 45 minutes. So,
So we got 45 minutes out of it.
yeah, but we still did it. We made a time and we were dedicated to that time and checked in with each other and talked through things.
I'm a little scared about it. If I
What
could
does
be
that mean?
honest. Because I remember when I was legitimately lead generating 2.5 to 3, 4 hours a day. And it's hard work. And for that reason, I think a lot of people will get out of the business too, because there will be a diminished amount of like bunnies for people. And I think as the easy transactions go away, especially by agents that are like Lynn said, chasing buyers around, like that's a great way to feel really busy and have a lot of activity going on with like not a lot of productivity, you know? So, and like the fear I mean, I'm joking a little bit about the fear, and at the same time, like there's a part of me that is scared of like some real hard work, you know? I mean, it's not super fun.
I remember when I first got in and, I didn't ride the first shift. I didn't even experience like when it first started in 2012, 11, 13, 14, 15. I got on 16. And even in 2016, when we were writing offers on the buy side, we could ask for different closing costs to be paid and different things. And then the market just kept getting easier and easier. And every year I was in real estate, I was making more money and everything is great. I realized I've been like in the best time in real estate in the last 5 years, which have been the years I've been in real estate. It's never been so easy. And one of the things that I hear time and time from the leadership of people who have been through it is many of our successes have just been based on the market. Right?
We're not great.
Well, it's because, Kevin, everyone wants to talk about how much volume they're doing right now, and no one wants to talk about the units, because everyone's volume is up. And that's just because of the market. The units are an activity-based or an activity metric than volume. But I think, Derek, to your point, as much as I don't, let's just be real, I don't like lead generating either. That's why I haven't been doing it. And at the same time, I think the biggest reason people don't do it is not knowing what to say. And the reality is, if we do head into, I heard that we'll be in a full-blown recession by the end of the year, something I overheard, and interest rates will be at 7% and all these things. Well, if that's the truth, then the reality is people want to hear from us, because how scary for them, like we're in the industry and it's a little intimidating, but to be a consumer, super scary.
Yeah. So then the question is, what value are we bringing to them, right? And a lot of it.
I think a problem that I have is telling people the correct information, right? There's a lot of information out there, what's true, what's not true. And then I don't want to scare people into making a decision that might be right for them or not right for them, right? I want it to be accurate information. And it's always we don't have a crystal ball. I mean, and that's true, but I guess if there was more discussion, I mean, obviously none of us know necessarily what is the right information or not, but I think that's where my challenge comes in, as I don't know what to help people to accurately.
Perspective is important on that. Sorry.
No,
Please. I think perspective is important, because I have buyers who are saying to me, I'm not going to buy a house at 5.5%. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want to buy it at 7%? Because my mom sold real estate in the 70s and she sold houses at 19 and 21%. I mean, how bad is 5%? It's really not. And there are lenders who can do a lock and shop. So you could lock and have them shop for 2 months and find their house. It's perspective. And I think people need perspective. If we're anticipating rates of 7% by December, 5.5 looks pretty good. Yeah, 2.5 would have been better.
Well, they can buy the rate down. Everyone forgets that. Like, I mean, we just had someone buy theirs down to 4.3%. I mean, that's great. So I think to your point, though, I think it comes down to what's best for them, which is just asking them questions. But I think as agents, we don't like to script practice, speak for myself, but how powerful is it when you can ask the right questions to get the information? Because even in a recession, I mean, that's a great time to buy real estate. But as long as they're going to stay in the house for 5 to 7 years, I mean, these are the things that I'm talking to people about. The market shifts. When you lose money and equity in your home, can you weather that storm? No. Okay, well then maybe you shouldn't buy the house.
But if you could lock in your rent for 7 years, would you be in a better place? Probably. Here's how you can lock in your rent. Fine.
All right, you have a shift book? All right, everyone take it out and go like this. Soften it up, loosen it up, take a pen out, write on it, in your pens. You ready to go? I'm gonna go through a bunch of things with you. We can stop at any time. Lots of these principles that we're talking about are in the book, and that's why I want to go through them. They're also in there on different strategies for different pieces. So here we go. Page 25. You there?
Yeah.
And by the way, if you find something because you're browsing ahead and want to share, or you know this is in your SHIP book because you already have it highlighted, let me know. 25. First tactic, by the way, is what? Get real, get right. Good. Number or in the middle of the page, page 25, actually just below the middle of the page, like the bottom 3/3 of the page. Know that growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. If you look at your business right now, can you identify your priorities? Is there clarity in your business? Are you kind of riding what the market does? Are you focused on your action? Do you have a schedule that looks like a real estate agent? What does it look like? Are you guys riding it? I mean, I'm a real estate agent too. Am I riding it? What does it look like in your, go ahead.
You know, it makes me think of something that came out of Bold, and it's like, if you Google something like habits of highly successful people, there's like a list of 10, 12 things that are habits of highly successful people. And those things are wake up early, work out in the morning, eat right, whatever, plan out your week on Sunday. You know, like there's like specific things. And, you know I get away from them. I do still wake up early, and yet I get away from them. And those are like good core whatevers that are like just a great way to at least put yourself in the air of people who are performing at a highly successful level. And that's not real estate agents, that's just people.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest changes of team leader to full-time real estate agent is vacations for me used to be short, and they were like intense, and I would like even have a hard time taking a vacation the whole time because I was focused on what needed to happen. This is my vacation when I'm on vacation. And then this is when I kind of get back to work. And it just has taken me longer because the market right now allows me to have what I want in this kind of spot. And if I get up later, I get up, all those different things that in the changing market, if I know what my priority is, if I know what I must do in order to hit that, then it won't look the way it does sometimes, right? Are you guys in the same boat as me? You fall into that same trap of I'm my own boss, I can do what I want, right? You have the courage to fire yourself as a boss yet? Have a sit down, time for a 411 conversation, right?
Our team starts every day with a call at 8:30 that everyone has to be on. And we share, it's called our GGG, we share a goal for the day, which has to be money producing. Our grit for the day, which is that thing that you don't want to do but needs to get done. And then our gratitude. And it's so helpful because it's like it forces everyone to like be thinking about that. And also, gratitude's a great way to start your morning. But
Sure it is. So it's having a goal.
yes.
Good. I have to write down here 3 Ds. Yeah. Yeah. Minnesota title pens. Anyone else? Anyone else? Sideways, I don't put them out. Anyone else?
We also, Kevin, we all put our 411s on the wall. If you walk in our office, there's clipboards on the wall.
For those who don't know, what's a 411?
Yeah, it's a tool that is in the One Thing book. And that's really helpful also because it also holds people accountable to like, what are your monthly goals? So we all have our annual goals, monthly goals, and then our weekly goals on there. And it's helpful for me as a leader to be able to just quickly look at it and know, like Heather on our team doesn't do her 411 with me. She does it with Jess. So I still go in tune with what she's focused on working on.
How many of you have filled out a 411 before? how many of you have, for however long of time, used the 411 as your kind of goal setting, your tracking, your, all that piece for you? Has anyone used it that way? And how many are using it that way right now? That's my, I think is my concern and the opportunity, right? There's this fear part, like what do we go away from and what do we get to go into? Here's what I love about our market center, our office, is these things are familiar. If they're not familiar to you, they're familiar to someone else who cares about you in our market center and is willing to share, all the way up to Gary Keller, by the way. And we've been successful in a shift before and set ourselves apart in a shift before, and we have the same opportunity to do that again, which is great, right? It's really fun. And what I love is I'm a cooperative kind of person. And one of the things I'll just say, Bethany, I love about you guys being in the office is your lead generating. As a team, I've seen you make phone calls. Hey, what are you doing in this room? I came up to you. What are you doing in here? We're making phone calls. Well, that's a good thing. That at one time was the culture of our market center. And it just had, for whatever reason, no judgment, it hasn't been the same. And it can be. And when we do the things that other people are unwilling to do, it's going to get us not our fair share, but our unfair share of market. It's going to make it so that we're able to live the lives that we want to, no matter what the market is, right? All right. You guys opening your books? Okay, let's go to, we talked about this already, but so the first one is getting real, getting right. Second one is remargining your business. Remargin your business and expense management. Anyone have a highlighted copy? Anyone do any highlights in their books? I have, will someone read that last paragraph on page 31?
In up markets, we tend to acquire habits and patterns of doing things that don't stop us in good times, but grind us to a halt in bad. In other words, we do so much right that the market covers up the wrong. The first causes us to succeed and may be so powerful that it powers us right past the second. Good times seem to reward all that we do, and profit seems to give permission to be permissive. Permission to avoid things you don't enjoy, permission to do things you've always wanted to do, permission to do things in the spur of the moment. All this leads to a lack of scrutiny, research, and accountability. Profit can act like a financial pillow and become a mental cushion, or like a financial sofa inviting you to take a mental nap. But the truth is that there is never a good time to nod off and violate the fundamentals of finance. Always think financially awake and alert. This is what long-term successful business people do. They ask what should be done, what will it generate, what will it cost, will it be profitable? They look and listen, and they pay attention to the answers.
What do you think? I find myself in that all the time. Up markets, we tend to acquire habits and patterns of doing things that don't stop us in good times. I can get away with that. I can rather than do this, do that. I can send a text instead of making that phone call that I know I should make. I remember actually, and this, by the way, is not a harp and not we have to get back to phones. There's one of the things that's also very clear in a shift is the things that worked in the past won't necessarily work in the future, right? Things change. We live in a society that things change. And one of the big things that has changed, even since Shift has been written, is how much the internet and different things is a real thing. Here's one of the experiences I had with Bold. Bold used to be 20 contacts a day, right? And you had to have yours. And what did we start asking?
I'm going to buy, sell, or invest in real estate.
Okay, yeah, so we could ask any of those things. But what did real estate agents start asking with you said it right?
What is a contact?
What is a contact? Why did we ask that question?
We don't want to talk to them on the phone.
I think this is the hard part of get real, get right, right? I heard many times, well, my sphere doesn't talk on the phone. The people I'm reaching out don't talk on the phone. It's just better to take text. Could that be true? For some of you, is that the truth?
Yes.
Could that also be a crutch?
Yes.
Right? So the hard thing is getting real and getting right with the reasons you're doing what you're doing. Is it a phone call or a text? Is it a knock on the door? Is it send a mailing? Is it, there's always an easy way out, right? And in good markets, we can take the easy way out because as long as we do enough of them, the other pieces are going to show up. The challenges in a shifting market is not the number of sellers and buyers, it's the numbers of motivated sellers and buyers. What we need to do is find the motivated, and when everything is saying things are more expensive, you might lose your job. It takes more gas to get there. That motivation tends to go down. And we cannot change someone's motivation. We can come to them and give them good information like, hey, here's the deal. You could actually lock in if you're going to be in a place for 7 years. It's better to lock in at 7% than it is to lock into a lease for the next 7 years, right? You're paying your mortgage or someone's else. You can bring that, but if that's not a motivation to them, you can't change their motivation. And so what you have to do is find the motivated, and that's what lead generation's about. So in up markets, we tend to acquire habits and patterns of doing things that aren't always great. Anyone else find one on here? I have a whole bunch highlighted, and I don't want to be just me saying things. And
I don't like that in bold that they changed like the definition of a contact. And I mean, I'm maybe just old school on it. And I do think that there's like value in connecting with people by text message, but I think like text is almost like the new email. Like I'm finding that people are less and less responsive to text than they were before. And I don't know if it's maybe just a culture thing, but like it used to be that if a text came in, you had to answer it because like it was hot, and now I feel like it's just kind of off to the wayside. But for years and years and years, there have been people who've been telling me that they don't need to make phone calls or they don't make phone calls. That's not how they do business. And I don't know. I just think it's going to be pretty tough to be in real estate without making phone calls. But long term.
And sometimes that phone call is the first reach out. The other times it could be is, hey, I mailed you something. Did you happen to get it? Right? Go ahead.
I usually do both. So I'll do a phone call, and if I don't get a hold of them, I'll follow it up with a text message. And there are people, especially in my demographic or my age group, that just they don't respond to the phone. They prefer to text. I don't know why, but I know who those people are. So that's my first. Like I will text them first before I call them. They know if I call, it's an important thing then at that point. But I think there's a balance of using it as a crutch or saying I'm not going to make those phone calls, and that gets really dangerous because you're missing out on a huge demographic of people that would prefer to communicate by phone, and that's your future business there.
I think it's really hard to ask an open-ended question by text.
Yeah.
And I think like to your point, maybe the text is like the little warmer, like that's like ringing the doorbell for somebody, and like then they come to the door and then you can actually have like a good conversation of some sort. Yeah.
I'm one of those people that have hated making phone calls, but I have to brag on Kevin a little bit because he shared something with our accountability group last week that like jolted me into reality about this. He's been back in the mode of being a single agent again, and he's been working on farming a certain area, doing flyers and making phone calls, around saying just what he said. I just dropped a flyer off. Did you get it? Anyway, for several months. He's been doing this on a consistent basis. And last week he was telling us what his production and what the results of that have been. And he was saying that in May, was it May that you had four closings in May, and 7 will be scheduled June. And he said, I didn't want to say this too soon because I wanted to see if, you know, what the results would be. But he's consistently calling around. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's what, you know, the results show what that activity has been. So it was a jolt into reality. So thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.
I do have to say, when there is a lag between activity and result, that we kind of lose our motivation along the way. And when I started, and I was really faithful about calling my database, and then I wasn't seeing a whole lot right away. And so then I kind of got a little bit more relaxed about it. But then I would, you know, renew my commitment to calling my 2 letters every week and doing that. And now I'm starting to, and it's taken a year, I'm starting to have people calling me. They're reaching out to me when things are coming up. But I think we have to be really careful about honoring that consistency and the activity and not having it tied to the result as our motivator. But trust that if you are consistent in the activity, the results will be there. And that, I mean, it's not a surprise. The numbers have been there.
Jake says it all the time, and he says consistency beats intensity every time. It's just, when things are easy, it's hard to be consistent, right?
It's stable about that.
Right?
That's good. Colleen's been grandmothering, so.
It's great cheering it up.
I called her the other day and it sounded like a full-on rumpus room. I was like, oh, that's so fun.
There are a couple other things that just around money as we're heading in things, a couple things I highlighted, middle of the page on 32. Think of spending money on your business as investing in your business. When you invest, you expect to get your money back plus a return. So are there things right now that you're spending money on because they're the cool things, the fun things, the look good things, the relationship thing, the whatever things that might be, that if you were looking at them as an investor, maybe you wouldn't invest in those?
I have on my book at home on 35, part about smart money, your money once was smart. And it relates exactly to that, that if you held your money accountable, if you really looked at what is producing for me and invested your money there and were smart about it and really gauged it on expecting a return from it, you would spend it differently.
What are some of the expenses you're spending in real estate right now? 36 cents. What are you guys spending on that? Do you know?
I know we spend about, I think it's around 22,000 a year between the 4 in-person events, 2 social events, and all the mailings.
And how many transactions came from that campaign? Can you tell that?
All of them. So last year, between Kylie and I, we sold 68 homes, and I think 1 came from an open house, 6 were agent referrals, and the rest were beer.
Would you invest in that? I'd invest in that.
Can I?
Yeah, can I invest in that?
Well, we are hiring our team there.
In case you don't like your boss.
So that's one that you know is working. Do you have any off the top of your head, you go, you know, you've been kind of looking to see if this is working or not?
Say that again?
Do you have any off the top of your head where you're going, maybe I don't need to spend money there?
So like we always do a summer koozie contest where we give away a Yeti cooler. And last year we tried for the first time having 2 like pop-up happy hours where people could pick up the koozies. And this year we're gonna do something just here at the office because the amount of money that we spent wasn't worth it for how many people that showed up to those. So, and then people have to request a new koozie if they want a new one. And then, because we're not mailing them to everyone, because that gets super expensive. So, yeah, like we're pivoting. And then honestly, on the flip side, we're also like doubling down on what's working. You know, the things that are working, we're trying to figure out how to make them even better.
That's what I think a wise investor does even during downtimes, is they go, what are the things that are working? And now I can, like, there are a lot of people, when during the last recession, what they did instead of selling, right? Because we got to get out, we got to counter, they actually bought that during that time. And as things go back up, and that's one of the things is opportunity for our own wealth growth during a recession is great, right? If we continue, okay, let's just assume we change our activities, right? Because we can't do the same activities, but we change our activities and continue to have the same income coming in that we do now, but things are cheaper. What is it? That's a good thing for us, right? If we can do that, that's a great thing. I remember, Gary, when we hit, by the way, how many of you been in a recession before? In all, right? We've been. How many of you been in a recession while you've been in real estate? And most of you have actually. Right after COVID, we had a period of 2 consecutive quarters. It was the shortest recession we've ever had, but where there was a recession for a little bit. It was quick. Not everything is necessarily back like 2008, 2000, the rough time. It was not the Great Recession necessarily that we're going back to, but there's a shift. One of the great things that he did, Gary said then, is look at your expenses and save cash. Look at your expenses and save cash. Middle of the page, 33. Actually, I'll go to the top page, but you go to the middle of page 33. Top of the page says, if you don't pay attention to how profit is made and loss, you'll most likely create and maintain a profit margin on the way up that will immediately disappear on the way down. If you don't pay attention to how it's going, it'll go up, but then you'll be gone. All right. In the middle of the page, it says, no matter. Someone read that paragraph right there. Page 33.
No matter the market, you always follow the philosophy of lead with revenue. This means either always working from a position of profitability, or if just getting started, working from a position of having enough revenue already on the books so you know exactly when profitability will start. In a shifted market, you drop your expenses until your inflow once again exceeds your outflow at an acceptable level, and then you play red light, green light.
Perfect. Right, lead with revenue. Even if you're getting started, right? Revenue's not coming in yet. Reduce all the spending that you can. Lead with revenue. Don't go out and buy 10 signs. You have your listing, pay a little bit more for the first one because now you have a listing for it to go on, right? I've seen many people get out of the business and say, signs for sale. Anyone want these signs? Right? Because they spent it on the wrong things. You got to spend it on the right stuff. All right. Next page, page 34. There is no expense that is untouchable. There's no cut too small. You must reduce expenses, match your income plus an acceptable profit margin. Here you go. Be brutal. Cut, 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 cut. Once you cut, or once, cut twice, and then keep cutting every week until you're there. Attack both variable and fixed expenses. What's a variable expense? If you don't know, you can read this a little bit further down on side. What's a variable expense? Okay, something that changes. Yep, read down a little bit and someone give me a clue what that might be. What's a variable expense?
Unnecessary work. Something you've not been aware of, overcharges, lack of attention.
So it might be bank fees, it might be credit card stuff, it might be one of the subscriptions that you have going, it might be all these different variable things that you can go out and change, right? And then what's a fixed expense? You know, something that comes, it's fixed. You always have it, right? One of the things that he says on there that I thought is kind of interesting, he said, make all you can your fixed expenses variable. Oh, that's good. I had to read that again. So if you have a car payment, and the whole thing he said is get your monthly expenses down. Let them draw out a little further. Get your monthly expenses down. So if you have a car payment, you go to someone and say, hey, I need to refinance this, or I need it to be lower, whatever it might be. When COVID hit our market center after being here for 6 weeks, Heather made the phone call and said, hey, can we reduce our rent? We didn't anticipate this. In a shift, be brutal, go and ask as much as you can to make things variable that are fixed. If you keep reading there, it talks about there's an opportunity in there. Sometimes you would have thought no way possible. You know, oh, that's pretty cool. Anyone have expenses that you know you just got to cut right off hand? You've been loose on your things.
I think as a newer agent, I knew that was going to be difficult, so I saved some money and I went through all my like reoccurring payments, and I got rid of the ones that I didn't know of. I got rid of everything that I didn't need. So I tried to do as much pruning going into the business as I could. So
It'd be great to get our last 3 credit card statements and just go through and like just kind of redline it, because it's easy just to pay the bill. To actually scrutinize those things, there's always stuff in there that you can get rid of.
And I was hearing on the morning pivot shift call that someone said, watch your auto renewals. So like things that are automatically renew. Someone was talking about their antivirus protection automatically renewed at 129, whereas if they didn't have it on auto renew, they could get it for a lot less. So to pay attention to some of those things, because there's a lot of money needlessly going out there.
And the cool thing is if we can do that without the stress of not having any money in our pockets already, right? So if we can go, okay, we see what's coming, right? One of the things we should do is not prepare for the market you're in, but prepare for what's to come. Almost everyone agrees that we're going to be headed into a recession. It's not just the United States, it's a global thing. Like Australia hasn't been in a recession for years and years, and they're heading into a recession. It's just the spot that we're in. Remember that if we are trying to find motivated buyers and sellers, right? Even if the recession is not here yet, the conversation has been there, right? You turn on the TV and it's all the economy, all gas prices, oh, homes are more expensive than they've ever been, oh, all these different things. And that plays into people's motivation. You've seen it already. Why would I go buy a house at 5%? Well, there's the same thing they said. Why would I go buy a house when it's the most expensive it's ever been? I'm just going to wait for things to go down. Now they want two things to go down: interest rates, which were the lowest they've ever been, and home prices to go down. Well, I don't know. But we got to go and find motivation. And when those things are the top, people are, whether or not we go into true recession, the motivation of our clients is changing right now. Would you agree? And so when that happens, that as business people, that's going to affect our businesses. And so smart thing we can do is get on the front end of that and be prepared. The next tactic number 3, is around leverage. And it's interesting to come right after leverage, and we're going to end, but it's interesting to go out right after leverage because we just talked about cutting expenses, and leverage usually costs money, right? That's what you're getting with leverage. But what it allows you to do when you're leveraging, what you got to make sure is, am I leveraging the right things? Am I leveraging so I can sit back and not do anything? Or am I leveraging so that I can do the right thing? Another thing he asks is, with those people that you leverage, are they the right people? Is your lender aware of all the creative financing that is available to your clients Like, if you work with first-time home buyers a lot, does your lender know about the grants that are out there? Are they helping get there? If you're working to invest with investors that are doing remodels, and do you have a lender that knows all those things? To make sure you're working with the people. Is your photography getting a little carried away on expenses? Do they continue to do different things? Have they risen on the tide like the whole market has? It might be a good conversation to have with your vendors. Another thing it says in there is, don't think of them as vendors, but as team members. Are these people that I'm holding accountable on my team to deliver? So here's my suggestion. If you look at my book, there's pink all over, there's yellow all over, there's pen all over. And the reason is because it's not meant to be just a book that you read and then forget about, but it's really to go back. It talks about our websites. It talks about how we're lead generating. It talks about prospecting versus marketing. The phone, by the way, if the phone is the only thing you do and you don't do other stuff, you're missing a big part of the market. It's a combination of different things. I want our market center to thrive through this. If something doesn't change, right? If something doesn't change, 80% of this room, I won't say this room because you're probably more than that, but 80% of our market center should be getting out. Because they're not doing business. If you're not doing business, it's not good. It's not going to be a good time. You shouldn't stay here. But if you want to do business, the tools, the resources, and everything are here to do that. So I'm excited about what's ahead. I think we're in a great spot to move forward and really, I think it's going to be a great time to be part of KW Lake and count on each other that way. So I'm excited about that. In like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I think the leadership team is downstairs ready with the grills.
I just looked, it looks awesome. They're ready.
So let's go out there and